This video series focuses on the university's team-based learning spaces, or TBL rooms. In addition to traditional capabilities like podium computers, these classrooms offer enhancements like student technology and student writing services. The examples in this series can help you plan learning activities that utilize these additional capabilities in ways that suit your teaching style. In this example, students complete a collaborative assignment in the form of a crowdsourcing activity where students generate information related to a lecture. This activity is followed by a gallery walk where students move around the room exploring and responding to the work of the other teams. Professor Jimmy Draper, who teaches Comm Studies 305 in a TBL room and created this activity, discusses the details of how he structured the activity and the value he sees in it for students.
I'm going to talk through, the first one would be crowdsourcing, and so I sort of use this as a shorthand for getting them to generate examples and counter examples of concepts that I had them read about or that I was lecturing about. So basically I would do my spiel, and then I would have at their tables, give them some sort of task. Come up with an example for something, come up with a counter example, post it onto your monitor, maybe create a PowerPoint slide about something, post it onto the monitor, use the whiteboards on the walls or the ones that roll around to generate lists to brainstorm. So sort of putting on them things that I would normally do in a sort of more traditional lecture, where I would offer up these examples and things like that. This was a space where they could come up with their own. This would be, so this was one particular example of a slide, was we were talking about post-feminism, and I had sort of talked about the various ways that term is understood in pop culture. And then there was the reading they did was on one particular definition of post-feminism as a sensibility. And so there were these various themes and tropes of this sensibility. And so there were like 8 of them. And so what I did was I gave each table one of those themes, and I said, you know, what you have to do is first on your board, you would list out basically your understanding of what that theme is, and then find an example of it. They came up with images. This Katy Perry, she came up a lot in that lesson. Advertisements, music videos, celebrities. They would come up with their own sort of application, and then they would sort of find an example to post on their screen. So they were using both the boards and the monitors. What this allowed me to do was they could then report out, and I was able to sort of I was able to sort of ask each table sort of how they came up with that example. Like, what were they sort of drawing on from the readings that sort of showed them that was, or told them that that was a good example of that. As they reported out, I was able to then sort of really elaborate main points that they might not have pointed out, to kind of think about why they didn't think something else was an example of it. So we'd go around, and it sort of, that kept it from being less of me just lecturing at them, where I sort of gave them the foundational information, and then they were able to sort of bring in their examples, and that sort of, it ended up being a good mix of them and myself. One example was come up with a meme, like create a meme that would sort of demonstrate this concept. And then they would all post, you know, the memes, and then I would have them get up and walk around, decide which meme, like the question I would give them, which one made you actually think in a different way about this concept? Or something that wasn't like, which is the best, but there was a particular sort of goal there in mind that I had them assess. I'd give them 5 minutes to walk around, they'd come back, they'd vote, and then we'd look at it. And then we'd talk through, and someone who had voted for the winning one, I would just ask, you know, what was your sort of rationale? That sort of worked well as also.
An alternative to having students move around the room is to display the contents of one team's table monitor on all screens and monitors in the room. Students remain at their tables, and as the instructor projects each group's monitor, they share their work with the full group. For more information about this activity or using any of the classroom features discussed, contact LSA Instructional Support Services.